Hello, hello, and thank you guys so much for tuning into this interview today. I have two very special guests. I am talking to Vlad, the CEO of Robinhood, and Jim, the current COO of the organization. I just want to say thank you again to these two for all of the time and, just they're very busy men, mostly as of right now. So taking the time to speak to our community and to answer our questions, it really does mean a lot. So, Vlad, I just want to get into things. Recently, you've been getting a lot of flack. Uh, Most of these people really don't know you personally, too. So, before we get started, could you just give like a short little intro summary of yourself, just so our viewers can feel like they personally know you just a little bit better?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Vlad. I was born in Bulgaria in the 80s and immigrated to this country in the early 90s because my parents basically came to the US to pursue opportunity and an education after the Berlin Wall fell and communism collapsed over in Eastern Europe. And met my co-founder, Baiju Bhatt, at Stanford, where we were both studying physics and math. So we were both big nerds, so to speak, and didn't really have a plan of becoming an entrepreneur. Never really thought about entrepreneurship until after college. Just enjoyed working with my co-founder and partner so much that you spend many hours late at night banging your head against the wall trying to do math homework, and you develop a really strong bond with that. And so came up with the idea for Robinhood after spending a little bit of time in the financial industry, and started it in 2015. So it's been a little bit under 6 years since our product went live, and actually built a lot of the product with my own hands. Baiju in the early days designed a lot of the user interface, and I built parts of the back end and a large portion of the iOS app that we all know and love. So all of these gestures, like the spinning numbers and the swipe up to trade, and a lot of like the screen transitions and the cats, you can blame me for that stuff. There's still a lot of my code that the team is trying to remove from the app. So I take a lot of pride in the product, obviously having built a lot of it, and also a lot of responsibility when people are upset at it. So hopefully we'll be able to address some of that with your audience. And thank you, by the way, for running this community. I mean, we understand how difficult it is, Alan, to run a community, and you doing it sort of is really appreciated.
Yeah, of course, Vlad, no problem. It's an honor, to be able to run literally one of the largest communities of your users. So when you initially started Robinhood, I know you said that it's been, 6 years now. Did you ever think that it would expand to the level that it has?
One of my philosophies is just get 1% better every week, So I think it's hard. I never really thought about being at this stage back in 2015. We were very focused on making our customers very happy and collecting the feedback directly. So I think one of the superpowers early on was we would actually have customers in our office, right? We would put these calls out on Craigslist and say, hey, come and use this new product that we have. And we got feedback from all sorts of different people from different parts of, at first, the Bay Area, but now we've kind of scaled it in different parts of the country. And I think just staying really close to our customers and understanding their needs and improving the product over time is a big part of why Robinhood has gotten so big and has resonated with so many people.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. I love it. So, Jim, I got a quick question for you. I did a little bit of research prior to this interview, and we chatted about it. Can you just chat a little bit about your history and with the experiences that you've had with the other organizations that you've worked for? What has specifically brought you over to working on Robinhood with Vlad?
Yeah, so my experience, I actually started in this industry back when I was in college. 1989 was when I got my first license, back when it was still paper and pencil and bubble sheets. So a little bit different times back then. Was actually at Schwab when they rolled out Street Smart, which was, if you guys, probably neither one of you remembers, but we used to ship an 8.5-inch by 5-inch floppy disk to you in a box, and then you used your dial-up modem to trade. And at the time we all said, no one's ever going to do this. This is crazy. I was working in a phone call center, and it turned out a year later I was running the overnight order review screens and approvals for that. Took a chance, got in with E-Trade early in my career. So I've kind of ridden the retail wave as it's moved from Schwab to E-Trade to Ameritrade to now Robinhood, and always kind of been on the cutting edge in the leading companies. Started a firm called Trade Monster in the middle of there, sold that after a successful run for about 8 years. It was an option trading platform that was the first to stream quotes in a browser. So this was just a logical move. I'd been talking with Robinhood off and on over the years. Finally, the right time, right place. Vlad liked me, so here I am.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. So before I get into a lot of the harder hitting questions, Vlad or Jim, is there any questions or comments that you'd like to address yourself personally right now?
I would say that the one thing that I think is a misconception about Robinhood is that Robinhood prioritizes access. And, I can understand that, like Robinhood is in our name, so we're all about access, but we actually prioritize safety. So I think a lot of the sort of narrative out there is that Robinhood doesn't take that seriously, but there's a reason why, you can't short sell on Robinhood. There's a reason why we don't allow naked options trading or undefined risk trades. And there's also a reason why we decided to limit extended trading hours to sort of a narrower window of the trading hours. And it's not because we couldn't build it, and it's not because customers didn't want it, but we provide extremely powerful tools for you. I mean, there's investing and access to the market is a powerful tool, and correctness of the product and safety is a huge responsibility, and one that we take the most seriously.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. That's a great point, Elliot. If we can make sure to get a note of that for Vlad, that's amazing. So have either of you participated or seen either of the Facebook groups or the Discord community that we run with your users?
I haven't joined the Discord community, but I have poked my head in the Facebook groups from time and again.
Yeah, and I'm familiar with both. Not a participant, obviously, but around for sure.
Gotcha. What are your opinions on the Facebook groups? Have you guys enjoyed the little spurts and times that you have had times to just check and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I really love hearing from customers directly. There's obviously I love hearing the feedback, both positive and critical, and I actually respond very well to the critical feedback. So some people I guess don't like reading that type of stuff. I'm actually a glutton for it. So I think the best way to build a great product is to hear from the people all of the ways that it can be improved. So I love that no matter where the forum is.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. So later, because you said that you do love a lot of that judgment and you're glutton for it, I do have a couple of fun tweets that I'd like for you to see, Vlad, or a little couple of comments that's going to be a lot of fun for later, but cool.
Sure. Okay.
So the first question that the community had to ask you guys is, during times of a lot of high stress and a lot of volatility, there's a lot of other brokerages out there that have streamlined communications, i.e. phone calls and live chats for their users to get into contact with the platform, the brokerage, if something is happening or there's any major issues. Why does Robinhood not currently offer any form of streamlined communication?
Well, actually, we've recently started reintroducing live phone support. So it works a little bit differently than your typical 1-800 number. So you actually, it's kind of built like a product. So if you go to the support page and you say that you have an issue with an options trade, you'll actually go through a product flow where you can pick the specific options trade that you have an issue with. And depending on what's happening, you'll be presented a phone option. So you can select that and be connected to a live agent that way. And the feedback so far has been awesome on that, and we're looking to scale that to more and more use cases. Of course, we also offer email support, and that's been something that a lot of customers use, and we are continuing to improve that. But there's a lot of emphasis within the organization in making support better and better, and it's absolutely critical to everything we do. So we do have outbound phone support. We're going to make it better and better, and I think customers will really benefit from that.
Gotcha. So I know that a lot of people recently, with all the news in GameStop and AMC, has been just making so much drama, and there's been a lot of hype with that. How have you personally noticed an impact towards Robinhood as an organization due to the new light that these different hype organizations have brought to the stock market and the marketplace itself?
Well, maybe I'll give sort of the high level view, and I'm sure Jim would have a great view of how it's impacted Robinhood Securities as the clearing firm. I think for Robinhood, it certainly thrust the company into the limelight, and the positive of that is a lot of customers, millions of customers, are hearing about Robinhood for the first time right now, and it's kind of an opportunity to tell them about what we do and what we stand for, and we're doing the best we can at that. And you can see, in the App Store rankings that Robinhood is. Even this past weekend, like, we were right up there with CBS for the Super Bowl, and I think we might still be sitting at number one, at least on iOS. So with that comes not only growth, but also a lot of strain on our systems and services. And the number one priority for us, as I mentioned with the safety aspect, is making sure that everything is correct for customers, that we're processing their trades properly, and that the service is available when they need it the most. Because the last thing that we want to have happen for customers is for them to be in a position that they can't get out of. And I'm sure you remember March of 2020, we did have some service issues with our product that were regrettable. And I think we responded to that as an organization. We invested a ton in rebuilding certain systems and adding more redundancy and reliability and capability. So knock on wood, we've made a lot of progress, but it prepared us for this moment, because as bad as or as difficult as the last couple of weeks have been, would have been a lot more difficult if we didn't have a reliable service that was up for customers and available throughout the extreme market events. Maybe, Jim, you could add the Robinhood Securities perspective. I think that's also very interesting.
Yeah, I think some of what Vlad said is one of the things I wanted to highlight. We saw record volumes at Robinhood last couple weeks, but so did the industry as a whole. So, when you ask what was the impact of the social media convergence with technology, I think it was something that, no one expected. It really strained the entire trading system nationwide. Not just us, but, a lot of the large market centers had volume issues. Robinhood did stay up with no problems at all. A lot of that was, to Vlad's point, things we had put in place after last March, which obviously we didn't want to ever repeat. But on the actual broker dealer side, this whole discussion around, collateral requirements and, the fact that we had to PCO a couple stocks and then gradually reopen those up. I think that was a good shock to us. It was not a decision we took lightly, but it was something we had to do in order to protect the other, customers who weren't necessarily trading those stocks. But it certainly is an awakening for the industry, I think, that a group of investors could get together on social media and be able to move these stocks the way they did. And, it was very impressive, for sure.
It was very, very impressive. So let me ask you a question about all of the locking of different equities. So personally, I believe, and I completely understand where you guys had to come from as an organization, having to lock out a lot of these organizations and to assure that people with margin are not getting the margin calls and absolutely decimating their accounts. But me and myself personally, as a trader, I feel that we should have a free market. And if anyone were to want to purchase anything, that the brokerage or the platform that they're utilizing shouldn't have to limit them and give that certain protection or safety that you guys essentially did forcibly to every single user of your platform. Like, do you have a statement for that?
Well, let me address the safety point, Jim. What I mean by safety is we want things to be correct for customers, not that we're going to prevent customers from making decisions that they want to make themselves. I think in this case, we had no choice, and the safety aspect comes up in the form of we have to comply with the law, we have to comply with these deposit requirements. If we don't, then that becomes a worse situation, because the last thing we want to do is be in a situation where we have to suspend trading for all stocks and all customers. And, as painful as this was, that would have been like hundreds of times worse, right? So we're not talking about that, fortunately, because we were able to manage, or the team at Robinhood Securities, Jim's team, has been able to manage the situation with that. I'll hand it over to you, Jim.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, it wasn't even that we were worried about people over leveraging their accounts, because these symbols were already at 100% margin requirements. So there was no leverage available to them on the 28th, 29th, pretty much industry wide. I don't know of other firms that had them at less than 100%. So it wasn't, we were trying to protect customers from blowing themselves up in their margin account. It was really just a question of, we have a portfolio that DTC and NSCC look at that is the makeup of all of our customers' positions. And we simply took on overnight a humongous position in both AMC and GME. And given the volatility of those symbols and how quickly they had run up, NSCC made a decision to put an extremely high requirement on them. We had allowed customers to continue to buy. The position would have gotten larger. The call would have been larger from NSCC. And like Vlad said, potentially we would have had to have restricted trading on more than just those two symbols. Any customer who was holding them was able to liquidate them. We just limited the ability to buy additional shares.
And let me, I've given a couple of descriptions of this, and some of the feedback I've gotten is that it's too technical, right? That not a lot of people understand, T+2, T+0. So let me try, if I may, to sort of present it in simpler terms. So imagine rather than, being a brokerage, we're a candy store, right? Yeah. So you have a customer that goes in and buys a chocolate bar. They hand over the money and they get the chocolate bar right away, right?
Yes.
So that's real-time settlement. That's the way that I think stocks should work as well. But the way it works right now is a customer goes to the store to buy a candy bar. Robinhood takes the money for the candy bar and puts it in the vault somewhere in the back, right? Then we take our own candy store money that doesn't have anything to do with the customer's money, and we put some of that aside to pay for the candy bar. And we hold the candy bar for 2 days before we give it to the customer. So basically, we have to take our corporate cash, put it up for the purchase of the candy bar. We can't just take the customer cash and give them the candy bar right away. So what we're trying to do is kind of modify the antiquated system so it works a little bit more rationally, and that we don't have to deal with the complexity of the deposit requirements. And that's the whole real-time settlement thing. We want we want the whole transaction to feel like you're handing over the money, you're getting the candy bar, and it's just like completely straightforward and logical.
Mm-hmm. That all makes a lot of sense. Thank you for the clarification. I'm sure that a lot of the people that are going to be watching this will understand that. But so in the situation, yes, it is technically your money that you are spotting for the candy bar, but the customer has already paid for the candy bar itself, and you guys have that capital that they paid for, that candy bar. If, you're trying to protect your personal capital and the purchaser of the candy bar, but wouldn't you say that if theoretically, regardless of everything, if somebody wants to go out and go buy 1,000 candy bars at a extremely elevated price, and they want to purchase it, and they are fully understanding of the price and the risks that they are taking purchasing these bars, shouldn't you still allow those to go through and all of those orders to essentially just be done as that was what the request was?
In the perfect world, that is what we would want to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between, I guess, the candy store analogy and NSCC is not only did we have to put up the money for the candy bar, but then we had to put a 2-day volatility multiplier on top of it. And that's where the problem really came. I mean, there's no time where we have an incentive not to allow customers to trade. And I want everyone to understand that. It was not an easy decision. It was my decision. So if anyone wants to yell at me, it was my decision. But we had to do it. We really did, to protect our clients. And we feel now with the additional capital we put into the broker-dealer, we won't have this problem again. And that's really why we went out and raised some funds over the weekend so that we could get back. At this point, there are no restrictions. You can buy whatever you want.
Sweet. That all sounds amazing. So that is really it for all of the big hard-hitting questions. We had another little small question from the users, but if you were to give kind of any impartial advice or tips to yourselves 10 years ago, or anybody who is looking to become in or get into the position that either of you two are in, what types of advice would you give a individual like that?
Jim, why don't you start?
As you say, you want to start?
On this one to you.
10 years ago, I'm trying to think 10 years ago. No, I really think, the reason I got into the securities industry originally when I took my Series 7 license when I was in college, I really thought of it as, I may never use this. I have an opportunity to take the license, but it'd be great to understand how this all works. I mean, I came from a family that very few people in my family invested until I got into the investing business. I mean, it just wasn't something they did. Big savers, big CD owners, but not really stocks and any of that. I figured at minimum I would learn that. And it turned out that it just became a great career for me. And I've moved around positions within the different firms I've worked at to learn the entire background of the whole clearance, settlement, and trading pieces. And that put me in a position where, I could take a role like this. A lot of what I did, people would have said, what are you, crazy? I mean, I left Fidelity Investments to go to E-Trade shortly after they went public, and all my friends thought I was insane. Why would you go to this little firm? They're never going to make it, kind of thing. Same, little different when I came to Robinhood, because Robinhood was obviously a much bigger firm, but I left E-Trade to start a startup of my own. People thought I was crazy when I did that. So, I mean, a lot of it is, take calculated risks, but make sure you're prepared for them. That would be my advice. And buy Bitcoin if it was 10 years ago.
Buy Bitcoin. All right. Vlad, any advice?
I would say that the good advice is never absolute, right? So I'll give you an example. I was given the advice when I first started being an entrepreneur, and that probably about 10 years ago. I was 22, 23 years old, to not really think about bringing on too many experienced people early on, because experienced people wouldn't be able to innovate and be creative. And I think that advice was incorrect. And, I probably started appreciating that a little bit later than I should have. I mean, Jim and Dave Dussault and Norm and Kelly and some of these great folks that we've brought on board to help us on our journey relatively recently, I think have just shown me that there's a great way to create an organization that combines technology and financial services and people that are experienced and people that are doing it for the first time. And I think that diversity of thought actually helps us become a stronger organization. And so I'm beginning to appreciate that more and more.
Sweet. That is some great advice. Thank you so much, Vlad. So before we wrap up this interview, Vlad, I know that a while ago in the beginning that I said that we had a couple tweets and little comments from different people that we've snipped from Facebook and Twitter. I'm sure that you've seen.
Are you going to ask me to retweet them? Because I don't know if I'll be able to do that.
I'm not asking you to retweet them or anything, but I'm sure you've seen the Jimmy Kimmel, little bit of like the hater tweets and whatnot. Like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that would be just like a little fun wrap-up session, like 5 minutes or so. If Elliot, you can hop back on and show Vlad some of these tweets that we found that could be really funny. Cool. So if you want to zoom in on that, Elliot.
Oh, yeah. I think I might have liked that tweet.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I would definitely go for Adam Driver. I've got to say I'm a big Adam Driver fan. So Adam, if you're listening, I think you could do a lot with the role.
I love it. So, question: who am I going to play in this movie? Huh? Right?
Or who's going to play you?
Or who am I going to play in the movie itself?
Oh.
But yeah, Elliot, if you want to bring up the next couple tweets, let's join together and drop your ass like MySpace.
Well, I don't know. I know people are upset. What can I do? I'll give that tweet a like too. I mean, I think I understand where the customers are coming from.
All right, if you want to bring the next one up, Elliot.
Hey, actually, if you looked at some of the interviews that I did 2 weeks ago, you'll notice my hair is substantially shorter. I got 4 or 5 inches cut off just a couple of weeks back.
Really?
Maybe stress makes it grow faster. It does look rather long again, so I might have to go back under the shears.
God, before we know it, just with the amount of stress you're going through every day, just daily haircuts, right?
I'm surprised it's not gray, honestly, or falling out.
God, so Vlad, how many hours are you sleeping a night at this point?
Good question. So last night, so this morning I woke up at 2:30 in the morning.
Oh wow!
However, I went to sleep at 8 p.m. So it's not actually that bad. I put my daughter to sleep. And actually what that means is she put me to sleep. So I was snoozing, and then she gets out of the room and starts dancing in the living room.
Love it. At 2-3 a.m. But hey, at least you got your 6 hours of sleep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found this one tweet from this random nobody. His name's like Dave Portnoy or something, and he tweeted right at Robinhood, the Twitter account themselves. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know Dave personally. I mean, obviously, I think he's. I've heard about the Barstool Fund, and I like what he's doing to support small businesses. So, I bear no ill will toward Dave Portnoy. I'm sure he's coming from a good place, and we'll try to get him back on our side.
Yeah, that would be great PR for you guys, getting him back on your side. But yeah, then this one a little bit more aggressive, but God, apparently you're one of the worst people in our country. So what's your thoughts on that tweet?
I've had a little bit of a back and forth with Dr. Parikh Patel. Yes, some of his tweets are rather funny, actually. So I don't take it too seriously. And he sent me a great chicken korma recipe. So thank you, Dr. Patel, for that one. If that is your real name, I'm not sure if Dr. Patel is his actual real name or if this is a pseudonym, but maybe we can dig that up.
God, I remember when I was scrolling through all of the Twitter or all the tweets I saw his comment. He's like, "Hey, you try that chicken recipe." So it's good that
Oh yeah, I have we bonded a little bit over Indian food.
God, that's actually kind of funny. What's your favorite Indian dish?
Oh, I'd have to go with bindi. Definitely
Really?
bindi. Yeah.
God,
Yep.
I freaking love bindi.
My mother-in-law makes great bindi with French fries, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So it gets all crispy and it's delicious.
That's amazing, man. Maybe sometime, you, me, and your mother-in-law just go out and go get some food and just call it a day, right?
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for this interview. I think that is it for now. Do you guys have any last comments that you would like to make before we wrap up this interview?
That's always a tough question for us. I mean, I would just say we're going to keep working for you all, making sure that you have the best experience that you possibly can have on the platform. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes twice. The 3.4 billion, I think, will go a long way. Onward, I think there's a lot more to do and a lot more people to serve.
Sweet. Anything from you, Jim?
No, I think to echo Vlad's, sentiment, we are always here thinking about our customers and trying to do what's best for them. They may not always like our decisions, but, it really is a long-term view that we have. We want to be here for customers in the long run. We want to make sure we're doing what we can to serve them in the best way possible. And, to Vlad's point, I think we're in a great spot now and we'll get past this blip.
Sweet. Yep. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this amazing interview. I hope you all have a great day, and please do not forget to join our Discord at discord.gg/Haikhuu. That is HAIKHUU. I hope you all have an amazing day. Take care.
Thanks, Alan.
Appreciate it.